Welcome to the webinar entitled How to Secure All the Skilled Labor You Need. My name is Joshua Schnorr. I am the Business Development Manager for Virtual QE. The QE stands for Quality Engineer, and we are in fact a full-service quality engineering firm that focuses very simply on making our customers more profitable and valuable. We have found a niche, and that's what we're going to be talking about for the next 30 minutes. And I'm excited to talk about it because I think that's all the time that I need to convince you that our simple yet innovative strategy is actually a solution to one of your biggest needs and challenges. This is a webinar, so we won't interact like a typical conversation. Your questions are very important. Please write them down and give me a call or shoot me an email. The contact information is on your screen. And if there's any content on this presentation that you like, feel free to visit our blog, which is on our website, also included on the screen, as some of the topics we discussed on the webinar today just skim the surface of the details that are described in the blog. So with that being said, as a prelude to our conversation, I'd like to direct your attention to what we at Virtual QE call the Fateful Four. The reason why we call these the Fateful Four is because we believe the success of your company rests on how well you're able to manage these four categories. Take a minute to read some of the questions on the screen. Inevitably, there's going to be one or more questions that either you can't answer or you can answer, but you're not completely comfortable with the answer that you give. But don't worry, for those of you who stay to the end of this webinar, you're going to know something that's going to make you much more comfortable answering each and every one of these questions. So let's get into it. How to secure all the skilled labor you need. Can you imagine? Can you imagine being able to solidify all the skilled labor you need for the contracts you have, or the contracts you have coming up? Can you imagine being able to go to bed at night and not worry about people retiring or companies moving in town offering 50 cents or $2 an hour more and losing a lot of your employees? Can you imagine not having the limitations that come with skilled labor availability? Okay. I'm sure you can imagine. That's all really most people have been able to do, is just to imagine, because this is not just an issue for you. This is a global conundrum. And that's what we're going to talk about today. And we're going to break it down into 3 secrets. Secret number 1, how to reduce the learning curve for every task. What if you could reduce the amount of experience needed to complete the specialized tasks on your production floor? What would that do for you? Secret number 2, how to reduce training costs and increase employee retention at the same time. What if you could slow down the bleeding that training and turnover perpetuates? And more importantly, what if you could actually reduce the amount of turnover that you even experience? We're going to talk about that. And secret number 3, how to secure and preserve vital tribal knowledge. Now, all tribal knowledge is important, but some tribal knowledge is vital. And what if you could have a library of all the tribal knowledge your company has ever had? That's what we're going to talk about. Once again, write down your questions. Feel free to reach out to me any way that you can. I definitely want to talk to you. Secret number 1, how to reduce the learning curve for every task. Now, to introduce this secret, the next 2 slides skim the surface of a very extenuous research that also only skims the surface with how complicated and complex the human brain is. What's important to note about all the research is that we could study the human brain for the rest of our lives and not completely understand it. But what scientists have been able to pull out are certain terms and definitions that lead us to believe and to know that video is actually ergonomic for your brain. And that's really no secret to anybody. I mean, if I was to ask anybody listening to this presentation right now, you would agree that video is a more effective media to transfer information from one person to the next. But the question is why and how much more effective is it? Well, that's what these next two slides talk about. In this slide, we call out some of the definitions that scientists have pulled out in psychology, like your cognitive load and behavior modeling and chunking. Once again, feel free to check out our blog to go into detail with what these topics mean and how they affect our learning. But what's important to note is through this research, we have implemented these tips and tricks of synaptic transmission into our final products, which allow them to be the most intuitive and practical solutions for learning specialized tasks. These definitions get us to these statistics. Take a minute to read them. You have heard it said that a picture is worth 1,000 words. Well, if you look at the middle of the screen, it says there that 1 minute of video is equivalent to about 1.8 million written words. Take a look at the stat that talks about how video is 60,000 more effective, 60,000 times more effective than text. Imagine if you could apply that to your production floor. I mean, you're still going to have the limitations of your workers, right? They have 10 fingers, they have 2 hands, they only have 2 eyes. But what if you could package the information that they're receiving in such a way that their brain was actually designed to receive it that way, and therefore give them a competitive advantage when it comes time to learning the information for the first time, relearning the information, and ultimately making decisions in the frontal lobe of their brain that would equate to efficient and effective workers without mistakes and defects. Video is not just better than text, it's actually superior. There's some things that you can do with video, like nonverbal cues, nonverbal clues, okay, that text can't accomplish. Like, for instance, I'm holding something in my hand, and if I could write down and tell you that it's a square. In fact, it's a cube. And if I showed you a picture of it, you would actually have an idea of the size of it. But it wouldn't be until you saw a video of me throwing it up in the air and catching it with one hand that you would get an idea of how much that topic, that item actually weighs. An example of something video can do that text and picture cannot. Now, undoubtedly, everyone under the sound of my voice recognizes this logo. The reason why you recognize this logo is because it is the #2 search engine in the world, next to Google. The whole world uses video to reduce their learning curve. Why not do the same thing in manufacturing? So to give you an idea, I want to direct your attention to the video on the screen. A couple of things I want to point out. Notice that the task in the video is a very specific task to manufacturing floor, similar to maybe some of the facilities that, someone under the sound of my voice right now is experiencing. Also notice that the raw footage is in first-person view, okay? That's very important for us in our final product based on the tips and tricks of synaptic transmission that I referred to earlier, okay? In a second, you're gonna get a feel for what the editing process looks like. Notice that there's multiple screens, multiple decisions, multiple softwares. I mean, this is really where we come to shine. We have engineers on staff that write the quality inputs, the ergonomic inputs, the safety inputs, and we have graphic designers on staff that actually put the videos together to make it the most intuitive and practical tool that someone who is doing this task for the first time would need in order to do it correctly their first attempt. Note that the final footage draws attention to what is important to know for safety, quality, and productivity. You've learned a task for the first time before and been bombarded by a bunch of information that you really didn't need to know for that situation. Also notice that we use TWI, training within the industry. We break the entire job down into critical points and key steps within those points. Okay? Without knowing it, you have witnessed almost a half a dozen pieces of tribal knowledge in this short video. I won't go into detail, but there are certain things that this worker is doing that can't be written down. And the reason why is evident in the video why he's doing it, but with text and picture work instructions, they would not be. Okay, so all of that to get you here, because when we talk about how to secure the skilled labor that you need, what we're really talking about is the bridge to the skills gap that everyone's been talking about, but no one's really been able to effectively solve. Okay, traditionally, we have attempted to bridge the skills gap with technical college and apprenticeships and trade schools, and these have been very effective to bridging that skills gap. Okay, and by the way, the skills gap is really in two separate categories. You've got what I call on the macro level, the actual volume of baby boomers that are leaving versus the millennials that are coming to take their place, right? There's like a volume gap there, okay? And then what I call on the micro level, you have the actual talent, right? So there's the talent that's required to fill the positions of today versus the experience and talent that's available in the talent pool that's available for us to pull from today. Okay, so when we talk about the skills gap, we're talking about the volume and we're talking about the experience, right? And trade schools and apprenticeships have done a great job of bridging that gap. But what I want to challenge everybody on the call today is, what if we were to bridge that skills gap from the other side? Instead of trying to raise the amount of experience, instead of trying to raise the amount of knowledge that's available to us in the existing talent pool, what if we reduce the amount of experience and knowledge that's actually needed and necessary to perform these specialized tasks? The way that you do that is that you put it on video. Not just any video. Use the tips from studying synaptic transmission. Make the video as ergonomic for a person's brain as possible, so that when they're watching it the first time, they are permanently memorizing things, long-term memorizing things, without even trying, okay? If you do that, you will get an increased labor availability. Now, all of a sudden, the stack of resumes that didn't have enough experience, that didn't have enough knowledge, that weren't qualified for the jobs that you're trying to fill now, all of a sudden, those resumes are now a little bit more attractive because they don't need as much experience as they once needed. You will get immediate results. Video work instructions, what we call it, has a short-term benefit, a medium-term benefit, and long-term benefits. The short-term benefit is the ability to allow someone to train fast, about 10 times faster, is what our research and what our experience has come to find. That take a task where someone is typically taught how to do it with text and picture work instructions, and put that demonstration next to a video work instruction situation, and what you'll find is about 10 times faster is how fast someone will learn how to do that task. High quality work for low wages. So essentially what we're talking about here is once you're able to effectively reduce the amount of experience and knowledge needed to perform that specialized task, now you can hire someone, okay, from Macy's or from Taco Bell or from any other trade outside of yours that can come and add value day one, right? And you're not married to paying them the high salary that you currently have to pay experienced and veteran technicians to be able to do some of those tasks. Now, let me be clear. Video work instructions are not going to make your best people any better, right? It's actually your best people that we're using to make the videos. We'll talk about that a little bit later, how we're capturing the tribal knowledge and actually disseminating it to the people that need it. But what video work instructions will do is it will give you more of your best people, because now you take that tribal knowledge and you actually use it as a learning tool. Okay, you share that tribal knowledge with your new technicians, your mediocre technicians, and now they're able to benefit from the tips and secrets that could not be written down on regular text and picture work instructions. I love this quote from one of our customers. Mr. Weeby parallels video work instructions to a personal trainer in the gym. I can relate to his example because going to the gym is a habit of mine, and I've done so for many years without a personal trainer, by the way. Because I was getting along just fine without a personal trainer. Okay, why would I need a personal trainer? I could do the work myself. Okay, it wasn't until I actually had an experience with a personal trainer that I realized that the tips and tricks based on their expertise on my rep count, on my weight, on how I stretch and how I prep, on what I eat, that I realized that those subtle differences gave me extremely accelerated results in the areas that I was looking for. And the same is true for you. You probably don't use video right now, and you're getting along just fine. And you'll be just fine. You just won't experience the accelerated results in the categories of increased productivity, decrease in defects, increase in retention, speed of training, reduced labor costs, and labor availability. The other thing I want to note about Mr. Wiebe is he has a deaf employee. It's one of his favorite employees, but because of his sensory limitation, Mr. Wiebe is limited as to where he can use him on the production floor. What he found out was the more tasks that he put on video, that his employee was able to benefit from the nonverbal, non-audio tips and cues from the video, that now he's able to use him in places where he previously was not able to. Once again, whatever your question is, write it down, shoot me an email, shoot me a text. Secret number 2, how to reduce training costs and increase employee retention at the same time. Okay, to introduce this topic, I want to show you another video. While the video is loading, I'm going to give you a little explanation as to what you're getting ready to watch. So what you're getting ready to watch is a brand new hire performing a brand new task, watching a brand new video. He has never done this before. Okay, the blue gloves in the top right-hand corner of your screen is his boss, the manager, the trainer. Put on our hardware, performed the task. We took that footage, we edited it, and we created the video work instruction that this employee is watching right now to perform this task. Important things to note are the video is sped up for purposes of this webinar. Okay. Another thing to note is that it's another highly skilled task. This may look a lot like the production floor for some of those that are hearing the sound of my voice right now. You'll also note that what he's watching is not a Hollywood film. We do not make Steven Spielberg quality films. Okay, practical versus enjoyable, first person versus third person. We make intuitive, practical tools for training and learning and retention. The video itself is in 1080p, so it's not like it's not high quality. My point is just that you won't find the type of editing that you would go if you go to the movie theaters. Another thing to note is that when we asked the manager what's the fastest they were able to teach somebody how to do this task without making a mistake, he said 3 days is the fastest anybody's able to learn how to do this without making a mistake and needing additional help. This employee was able to do it on his very first try. You'll also notice subtitles, which is an easy way to cross language barriers. If you have your sound on your computer turned on, you'll notice music and voice, and we use that strategically for job changes or tool changes. And then last but not least, you'll notice that the employee that performed the task is a millennial, okay? And that's fitting because millennials are the workforce of the future. And here's the stats. On the top portion of the screen, you'll see stats for North America among all trades. The stats at the bottom half of the screen are for North America, specific for manufacturing. What's important to note here is that 3 million people walked away from their job in 2018. Of those 3 million people, 77% of them, including the ones that retired now, said that their employers could have retained them. Okay. Now that's actually fitting because the majority of that demographic were millennials who, by definition, are much different in character and morale than their baby boomer counterparts. You see, millennials are used to having easy access to all the information right at their fingertips. They're not accustomed to staying at one job for very long at all. They have to be cross trained in order to retain them. They need job rotation. They also want to be engaged in their job. They want to have ownership. They want to believe that they know all that there is to know about their job, and that they have the ability to have access to something that proves and tells them that they're doing it the right way. They want a clear path to growth. Like I said before, they don't want to do the same thing for very long, and they also want to be able to see far into the future on how they're going to get to where they eventually might want to get. And they really don't want to learn all these things in a formal setting, formal classroom educational setting. They prefer to be taught informally. Mr. Ridner, CEO of Study.com, gives companies a pointer about how millennials will be the workforce of the future, and B, what companies can do to attract and retain millennials. And I would ask you the same thing. If millennials are going to be your workforce, the workforce of your future and your production floor, what are you doing now to retain them and to attract them and to retain them? Once again, I definitely want to hear your questions. Please write them down and shoot me an email. Last but not least, secret number 3, how to secure and preserve vital tribal knowledge. Once again, all tribal knowledge is important. This is the stuff that your best people, your veterans, let's talk about them for a second here. The people that have been on your floor for 20-something years, the people that know, that have forgotten more than I'll know probably in my lifetime about those specific tasks, your production floor. These people are a double-edged sword because they're essential to have, extremely important to have. Almost so much so that if you don't have them, if they do leave, if they do all of a sudden disappear, that it can be crippling. It can be a snare for a lot of companies. And there's a lot of managers that go to sleep every night wondering how in the world are they going to do X, Y, Z once they leave, or once this person or that person decides to retire or move on. Well, what we're going to talk about today is the process that we create these video work instructions very heavily uses these extremely important people on your production floor. And so not only will you be able to get the performance and the benefit of having them, but you also get the peace of mind of being able to capture the things that they know, the things that are of utmost benefit to you, even when they leave. Did you know that you could get more out of your best people? A lot of people don't know that. A lot of people say these are the veterans. They've been here forever. They kind of do their thing. We don't have to talk to them. But did you know you could actually get more out of them? And what that is you'd be able to carbon copy the tips and tricks and secrets that they know. This quote from Mr. Secord is very interesting. It's interesting because I know the story that goes behind the quote. I'm not going to go into it right now, but safe to say that Mr. Secord got in a situation where he was not willing to pay the price right now, and ultimately it costed him a lot more over the life of the situation. The cost for video work instructions is pennies compared to what it will cost you when you need the information the most. So we've covered all the secrets, and because I know there's nothing but intelligent people on this webinar, I believe by now you get the concept. I think everybody's had enough experience with video to believe at least the short-term benefits of video work instructions, and you're probably curious enough to try to be thinking to yourself right now, how can I use video to my benefit? And inevitably, there's someone on the call thinking about doing this themselves. And let me tell you, if you are thinking about doing it yourselves, let me tell you a couple of things. One, I would say congratulations, because you fit the category of a company that is sufficiently staffed to be able to take on the type of project this is, including the resources, the software, and so forth and so on. Second of all, if you're considering doing it yourself, go to our website. Okay, we have courses that we offer that allow that teach companies that have the expertise already in house on how to do it. Okay. Now, for the rest of you who are on the call and are interested in having a partner for this type of project, one that will take an active role in your results, right, as well as take responsibility to your success, I'd like to show you the pricing structure. So with that being said, video work instructions, a conversion versus a new. Conversion means you have existing text and picture work instructions, and we're converting it to video. It's a little less work for us because the intent of the task is most times spelled out in that work instruction, and makes our job a little easier in the editing process. I know what you're thinking. What's the process? Well, we touched on it a little bit before, but let me go a little bit more in detail. We give the hardware to your most veteran, your most expert technician, the one who you want everyone to imitate, the one who does the job the best. We give them safety glasses replacements that have a camera right in the center of the frame. They perform the task, and right then and there you have the task recorded in first person, 1080p quality, and audio. We take that footage to the lab, okay? We marry the footage from the glasses, as well as any other additional footage that we have, with the audio from the glasses, with the work instructions that you send us, as well as our own quality inputs from onboard engineers, okay? We marry all that together and make the video work instruction, which is the most intuitive tool for someone to use to do a task that they've never done before and perform it accurately the first time. Okay, we zoom, we crop, we edit, we put the quality, safety, and ergonomic inputs into the video that make it the tool that it is. Okay, once we're finished with it, we deliver the final results to the customer in the form of an MP4 file, easily integratable to any technology, a phone, a tablet, a computer, even an ERP system. And now you're asking about the hardware. Well, the hardware comes as a kit. We send you the glasses themselves with some accessories to make it a little bit more flexible for you on the production floor. For instance, the glasses only have about a 2-hour battery life, but with the portable power charger, you could essentially record all day if you needed to. The hardware comes out to be about $500 per kit. That is also inclusive of the software that we use to transfer the information from your facilities to ours. What about revisions? This is a big topic for people who are concerned about their continuous improvement efforts messing up their work instructions. Well, we've thought of that, and for 25% additional charge to the numbers that you see above, we will provide unlimited revisions to your work instruction for 1 year. After a year, you have the option to renew your maintenance package or not. This is one of the biggest values that we offer to customers, because keeping your work instructions up to date can be cumbersome and can be a nightmare. And that's one of the things that we do within 24 hours of getting the revised footage of what part of the process changed. We will provide to you the edited and up-to-date work instruction. Does the video speak Spanish? Absolutely. Spanish, Polish, Creole, any language you need. We offer language translation for $150 per video. And then inevitably, there's just so many more questions, right, that we just can't get to in this, little 30-minute webinar. But if you're interested, inevitably you have some of your questions are on the screen right now, and so we also offer, for an optional fee, process and project support. We will share with you best practices. We'll give you, if you come to us with 3 different scenarios on what you're thinking, where you're thinking about starting and what you're trying to accomplish, we can pretty much share with you what the process will look like and a good idea of the results that you can expect. and what metrics you need to start with in order to get the results that you're looking for at the end of the project. So we offer that. We offer that hand-holding service, and so what most people do is they start with a pack, a starter pack, we call it. Our smallest starter pack includes 4 videos. The reason why people start with a starter pack is this. There are metrics that you can measure with a bundle of videos that you can't measure with one individual video. For example, if I'm trying to blitz the dollars associated with scraps or defects in an area of the plant, only if I have the entire area on video can I actually say what the video work instruction did for that number of defects and scrap. But if I only have one of those tasks on video, all I will be able to see is the ability of somebody to train faster on that individual task, but I really won't know the result or the effect of how that task and it being on video work instructions affects that defect or scrap number that I was trying to blitz. So with that being said, starter pack is 4 videos, and it's our smallest bundle, and it comes out to be about $6,400. Now let me ask you this. If all video did was alleviate your labor availability limitations, would that $6,400 be worth it? Imagine how much business you're leaving on the table from the effects of labor limitations, right? Like the contracts that you either lost, or the contracts that are in jeopardy, or the contracts that you want to pursue, or even or more importantly, the ones that aren't even on your radar to pursue because you know you can't produce the output. You know you can't meet the criteria of quality score or on-time delivery, okay? If all video did was alleviate that a little bit, would it be worth it? I believe so. Okay. Furthermore, if all video did was make training 10 times faster, would it be worth it? Imagine how much money you're spending on training right now. Some of you know, some of you don't. Okay. But a great homework assignment would be to compare what it is that you're currently doing to train that high turnover station versus what it would cost to have us come in and create video work instructions for that station that would allow someone to train faster, and it would also be a more thorough way to learn the task. Moving along. If all video did was secure vital tribal knowledge for future reference, would it be worth it? Would $6,400 be worth it to have the information that you need in order to how to execute that assembly process, or whatever that last contract was that you haven't had in 5 or 10 years, but now it comes up again, but your labor force has turned over twice since then? There's certain tribal knowledge that's worth keeping around that long. Last but not least, if all video did was reduce your turnover by any amount, would that $6,400 be worth it? Right? Like if it was really true that millennials would stay if they had something that was an informal training tool, the ability to have at their fingertips exactly how to do their job, give them ownership and engagement of the job, okay, without having to tap somebody on their shoulder, if there is somebody to tap on their shoulder. Okay, what if it's actually true that with a learning tool such as a video work instruction, that someone would actually like the ability to be able to cross-train across the facility as needed, and therefore they would actually stay? If that happened even once, would the $6,400 be worth it? I believe so. About $6,400 for all that value. Pennies compared to the size of the goals that the project is attached to. And yet, we have made it even easier for you to get started. For those of you who joined the webinar, and for a limited time only, we are offering you your own aha moment for only $3,400. $3,400, and you get everything that we talked about on the webinar today. The videos, the hardware, the software, the unlimited revisions, as well as the process support, which solidifies our partnership. This is an amazing deal. And for anybody who's curious about video, how to get immediate results now, this is a great way to get started. Let me say let me end by saying that all your company goals start with people. And video work instructions is an investment in people. So invest today in video work instructions, and by doing so, you'll be investing in a lot of your company goals. Thank you so much for your attention today. My contact information is on the screen. Please give me a call. I am waiting to talk to you. Thank you.